I can't remember why I first watched Bubble Boy or what it is that made it something that I was interested in. I think it was probably the premise. It sounded really interesting, and I have to say, it is very interesting, but also now more than ever, the concept of being in a bubble seems so plausible, to be honest. But this one was released in 2001, directed by Blair with a screenplay by Cinco Paul and Ken Daurio, and it stars Jake Gyllenhaal. And the description from IMDb is as follows. Bubble Boy's been in a bubble all his life due to no immune system. A cute blonde girl befriends Bubble Boy. Her boyfriend proposes and Bubble Boy decides to travel across USA to Niagara Falls to stop the wedding. It sounds like it's going to be a little bit crazy, and it is. It's not the most realistic film, absolutely not. But the bit that I was interested in was him inside a bubble with no immune system. I wondered how that would work and how he'd get around certain situations. It's really interesting. For the most part, he lives in his room inside a bubble. And the only way to describe this bubble is kind of like those giant balls you go inside and roll down hills, if that makes any sense. And he obviously lives his life inside this bubble, and he meets Chloe, played by Marley Shelton. And obviously, like any teenage boy, he gets a crush on her, and they develop a pretty nice friendship. So obviously, when her boyfriend proposes to her and she says yes, Bubble Boy's not exactly best pleased, and he goes on this epic adventure to stop the wedding, and he is literally risking his life going across the country to stop it. Now that's probably the bit that's not realistic and very outrageous, but it does allow some pretty interesting scenes. He meets some interesting characters along the way. There are some very interesting situations that you probably wouldn't be able to predict. I think it is safe to say that it's a pretty unpredictable film, which for the most part is usually a really good thing, because anything that's not cliche it's pretty decent. It's going to keep you at least curious, if not intrigued. But I was intrigued by this because the premise sounded interesting. The execution was pretty good. It would have been interesting to see this kind of film as a drama or a thriller where it was a bit more realistic, but because it's a comedy, they can take creative license and let their hair down a bit and just have fun with it. And that's absolutely what they've done. They've had a lot of fun with this, and it is quite a fun watch. A little bit silly, but surprising. It's a good way to spend an afternoon. I think it's about an hour and a half. It's not overly long. It's a film that I would recommend. I'd be happy to recommend it. Will I watch it again? Maybe at some point in the future, because I'm still just really fascinated by the idea of, living in a bubble and having no immune system. It's pretty it's unrealistic, but it looks at certain aspects of it in quite a sentimental way. Bubble Boy is not a bad film. If you're interested in comedies and films with a little bit of uniqueness to them, this is one to look out for.